Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined by Jacob Unruh. It's Monday. We're back at Stonecloud. We've got a lot to catch up on because I was flying solo over the weekend. We didn't get to do a post-game podcast, so we got a game to talk about. Oklahoma State fans might want to skip that part. It's okay if you do. We won't hold it against you. But we need to talk about it because we haven't had a chance to yet here on the podcast. So we'll get into that, share some things that Mike Gundy talked about earlier today. But most importantly of all, Jacob, what are you drinking?
Man, I got another colorful drink, don't I?
You do. That's 2 weeks in a row you're going colorful.
I'm good at this. This is my specialty. No, this is the Monster Mash.
Monster Mash.
They put it out around Halloween, like right after Halloween, I think, actually. And it is a Frankenberry cereal, I guess, right?
Right.
IPA. I've never had Frankenberry cereal.
It's good stuff.
Is it good?
It is.
The beer's good. So I'm going to go say it's good.
I'm kind of regretting not trying it now.
Yeah.
As I watch that and think about
it's good.
Frankenberries.
Do I stick my pinky out with the color?
I think with that cup, yes, I think that glass, I think that's mandatory.
Perfect. What are you drinking?
I've got mellow. I'm kind of feeling mellow after spending the week in 80-degree Florida weather. The weekend, 3 days worth. Yeah, I'm feeling mellow. I went with mellow today.
There you go.
One of their standards. You can get this one in cans and 6-packs and all that stuff. So. One of my favorites.
It's a good one.
Went back. We're kind of running low on options to try. Yeah. Have something new for every podcast like we usually try. So
they've got a couple coming back later this week. They said Night and there's another one, another IPA.
Something sandwich.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember.
I can't think of the name. Anyways,
yeah.
Sorry, Matt, for promoing this very terribly.
Yeah, that was really bad.
We apologize, but those are staples that we know are good.
Exactly.
And so those are coming back. They're always rotating things around here, bringing things back. They've got Christmas stouts on tap here. Mm-hmm. They've got a new triple IPA, which I was told it's really not a triple IPA. It's a mega IPA. Because it's about 16%. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious about it. But yeah, so there's all kinds of things you can try here.
You didn't want to do a good 10-ouncer of that on the show here?
You really want me to go in all in on this show?
We might. It might be entertaining. I don't know. But it is what it is.
Maybe the season finale.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's what we do for the season finale.
Maybe so. Maybe we get 2 each and just see what happens.
And leave it on a cliffhanger like they do on TV shows where we just, boom, what happens next?
Who knows what happens after that? Now, important fact, these are our beers.
Oh, yeah, they are. We're not sharing.
No, we're not drinking these for anyone else. No winner on the score predictions this week, so we drink our own beers.
You mean nobody picked UCF to beat OSU?
Nobody.
I mean,
nobody came on and made that.
Joe Masato is the only one who did that I know of.
That's exactly right. So I guess we can drink one for him. He deserves one.
He's fine.
Yeah, he probably is. He got one. He got his own free beer last time.
Exactly. Yeah, he's good.
So I'm going to enjoy mine. But if you want if you want to win a beer that we'll drink for you next week on the show, go in that comment section, put your score prediction for OSU Houston. Take a chance and pick Houston if you want. You might be the only one, and you might automatically win a free beer that we will drink for you. So
the Monster Mash.
Maybe so. So do that, and we will drink a beer for you next week. But first of all, you were watching from home, which was not a lot different than watching in person because it was ugly, no matter your vantage point. But just kind of your big line takeaways from that.
Disaster.
Yeah,
it was just a disaster all around. The defense again was too susceptible.
Yes.
Wow, this is seriously how much beer I've had today.
Hitting you
just
quick.
2 drinks. Susceptible to big plays.
Yes.
Which has been a problem. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was interesting today that Gundy said it wasn't for busted coverage. It was they just got beat.
Right.
On 50-50 balls in particular. I'm glad he kind of explained what he means by 50-50 balls a little bit because some of it's kind of murky on that.
Right. Right. It's just one-on-one plays where each guy has the 50-50, the equal opportunity to make the play.
Yeah.
And he pointed out he's not just talking about a pass play or a jump ball type situation. Yeah, exactly. A one-on-one block where you've got to you're either going to get off the block and make a tackle, or you're going to get beat and they run past you, or just a one-on-one opportunity in open field to make a tackle. Either the guy's going to make you miss, or you're going to stop him. And so he felt like a lot of those situations they were on the losing end of several of those.
Yeah, and I think that stood out. I think the offensive line's health status impacted a lot of that, not getting ollie free.
Right.
With Mahalski being banged up. Was it Birmingham, right, who got hurt?
Right.
And
right. He didn't
tried
start.
to play through.
Started in his place.
I think there's a big hold on Preston Wilson when Bowman runs for 10, 13 yards, whatever it was, and then gets called back. He immediately throws an interception that, where another thing that sets me too was the interceptions really weren't entirely all on Bowman.
Right.
2 were off receivers. Gundy called them doinks. I think one might hit off a helmet. I don't remember that exactly.
I think the first one, Leon Johnson goes up with his hands, and the defender's helmet comes in.
That's
and
right.
Gets it.
Okay, that's right.
At the same point.
And the other one was off Presley, just off his hands into the receiver.
Exactly.
And then the other one was just a bad throw by Bowman. The turnovers, when you have your first 2 possessions, UCF scores, but you have 2 turnovers, it's just a disaster from the start. And OSU's not built to come back from behind.
They're not. Especially not when it started raining like it was.
Yeah, it just threw everything in chaos at that point when the rain hit. Just a no good, rotten, terrible day.
Yeah.
For OSU.
Yeah, it really wasn't one thing that we should address, because it was a thing that became big on Twitter. It was kind of silly, and you were watching, so I don't know if you heard Chris Budden's report.
I did.
She obviously says that they were not prepared and they didn't have the right rain gear. From what I can tell, based on what Gundy said afterwards, obviously players don't wear rain gear during a game.
Right.
That's not even a thing. In fact, receivers take off their gloves because the gloves get so slick in the rain that they're better to be barehanded. Neither team was wearing like the big parkas that they put over. They do that when it's cold, but not just for rain. OSU had plenty of tents up and down the sideline. It seemed to me like it was more than they have on a normal game. I actually meant to ask Gundy about that today when we had a chance. I didn't. Slip my mind. But it seemed like more than what they normally take on the road. And the only other thing was towels. And neither team was prepared for how hard it began to rain. I saw UCF have a guy coming out of the locker room carrying a big pile of towels, dry towels, in the middle of the second quarter because they didn't have enough on their sideline. I'm sure OSU probably had to send somebody out to the truck to get more towels, to have dry towels on their sideline as well. Don't know that for a fact, but I certainly don't think that there was anything in terms of not having what they needed on the sideline. There might have been some stuff still in the truck, but they had it. I was paying attention to the rain forecast all day because I wanted to know if I needed to take a jacket, an umbrella, or what to get to the stadium. They were never forecasting the type of rain that
there was like an 80% chance at kickoff, right, or something.
Exactly.
Because I did the weather report for the paper.
Yes.
And we were looking and thinking, it's just might be a pop-up shower, maybe, but 8% doesn't even scream it like it's even going to rain at all.
Right. And even what they were predicting was light rain, nothing like what actually hit the stadium.
Yeah.
So I felt lucky because I got out of it with not having to deal with any of it. but obviously, Oklahoma State was as prepared as I think they probably could have been.
Yeah.
Short of just getting some more towels and stuff off the truck.
Yeah.
It was a really weird thing that kind of got blown out of proportion. But I felt worth addressing. That said, they were unprepared in a lot of other ways.
Yes.
And that was obviously a huge issue. I think this was the first time that I felt an opposing offense really kind of took things to Brian Nardo and maybe had him unprepared in terms of how to respond, what to do in certain situations. I felt like this was probably a valuable thing for him long term.
Yeah. But
he definitely didn't feel ready to have the adjustments that he needed to keep pace with what Gus Malzahn and the UCF offense were doing, Jacob.
Yeah, it just looked like you almost had the sense like Malzahn said, here's a young secondary, a team that's got some weak points we can hit, and as the veteran guy he is and the offensive mind he is, he said, got a coordinator here that may not adjust well, so let's attack and see what happens. And they just kept attacking.
Yeah.
And it just got out of hand.
It did. And, like we talked about before I got off on the rain gear tangent, the rain hits, OSU's down, I can't remember if it was 17 or 24 at the point that
I think it was
the rain
17.
hit when it first came in, and then it really picked up. And so all of a sudden, they're having to throw the ball basically every snap, or needing to. and you really can't do that in that kind of rain.
UCF couldn't even throw the ball.
No.
Like, I remember one of Plumlee's throw just kind of spun in the air.
Exactly.
It just kind of was
floated.
all over, floated.
And that was a big one. That was a fourth down throw, too, at the goal line.
Yeah.
A big throw for them. It was one of those days where that quarter, at least, you were not going to be able to throw the ball the way you needed.
Yeah.
So it was basically just wasted time for Oklahoma State in terms of trying to get back on track. I would say, obviously UCF had blown a 28-point lead earlier this year to Baylor, lost that game by a point. OSU's never come back from more than 21, which was the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame. But for a few minutes, it felt like they had a chance to gain some momentum there early in the third quarter. And obviously the second of the 3 interceptions, I believe, or no, that would have been the third of the 3, wipes that out at that point. But it really felt like when they get the touchdown and the quick turnover, it felt like they had a chance to turn things around.
Yeah, and it just just never could get it going.
Yeah.
It just, Bowman has that was the bad throw, I thought. And totally missed the receiver. And it just, you kind of knew then, well, there goes.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Just pack it up and move on down the road. But I want to say this felt different to me than Kansas State or Kansas last year.
Yeah, I would agree.
This
felt different than South Alabama even.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a world is crumbling in Stillwater kind of situation. Last year, you just felt everything shift in the season. You just felt like, oh no, this is going downhill real quick. I don't think this was a thing that's going to carry over for the Cowboys. This felt just like a you call it Bedlam hangover, I guess, but it just felt like a total just let down, like let their guard down, kind of situation,
right?
Or everything just flipped on them and one, all the things that you might chalk up to luck or a good break or whatever you want to call it, everything flipped on them,
right,
in one instant. Instead of just one thing here and there, everything flipped against them, and they had no way to get out of it.
They couldn't stop the snowball.
No.
Once they got into that point, it was weird. Obviously, we only get to talk to players on Monday after practice, so it was hard to gauge last week how they were handling the Bedlam aftermath, and obviously it's also different for us because a lot of people during our interviews after Monday's practice are asking them about Bedlam.
Yeah.
So we don't know how much they're actually talking about it. We just kind of try to read vibes, and it felt like the vibes were good on Monday night. I know Gundy said that Tuesday's practice was just average. But he felt like Wednesday and Thursday were much better. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy into the whole Bedlam hangover idea all that much, but after what we just witnessed, it's hard to argue against it.
That's what I said. I think it was Jenny Carlson asked me today if I believed in Bedlam hangover, and I said, well, I didn't until Saturday.
Yeah.
So I mean,
exactly.
I don't know. I thought they had learned from their South Alabama, Iowa State struggles to not let that happen. I don't say they'd let it happen, but it just happened again, which surprised me.
Right. Yeah. And for it to get that out of hand was really weird. But like you said, it was a snowball that just kept gaining more and more momentum. So that said, is there anything that comes out of that game that you look at and say this could be concerning going farther down the line? Whether it's you mentioned offensive line health, receiver is very thin right now, and there were a few other things that Gundy were asked about, but I'll quit rambling since I've actually asked you a question.
I still think the secondary concerns me. I like particularly safety because it felt like at the beginning, especially Gus Malzahn was just he kept saying, "Oh, there's Dylan Smith. Just go at Dylan Smith. Go at the true freshman," and they were burning him. They kept getting beat. And nothing against him. He's a true freshman. He's still got a lot of room to grow. But it just seemed like that was the weak point that they pinpointed, especially early. And when you see a team like Houston come up this week with Dana Holgerson, who does a lot of Mike Leach-esque type things and crazy things, and Donovan Smith can really throw the ball around. They've got some talented receivers. You kind of worry if that's going to be another area that they're going to try to attack.
Yep. I feel like with the safeties in particular, when you get up against an offense that can both run and throw the ball, that's when they're going to be most susceptible, and that's what we saw on Saturday. Because if you get those guys having to think run or pass, that's when you're going to catch them in making a misstep, being in the wrong spot, whatever it might be. But like you talked about, and like what Gundy said, it was more an issue of them just getting beat at the point of attack rather than busting coverage like we saw against Kansas and some other of the early games this year. So. But I still think that's going to be a key for that group going forward. The offensive line's got to be healthy.
Yes.
For them to have the kind of offensive success that they want. It sounded like Michalski is probably going to be okay going forward. Left guard's obviously a concern. Jason Brooks Jr. is sounds like done for a while, maybe the season. Cole Birmingham was beat up at backing him up, so they had to go to their third guy there, Maturko, who had mostly been practicing at tackle or on the right side. So, but I mean, obviously left guard was a position he played last year. It's nothing new to him, but they were, I think, more comfortable with him on the right. Austin Kowecki got in at center for a few series when they were still trying to make a comeback there in the third quarter, and seemed to play well. But Michalski is the guy that they're much more comfortable with in terms of the center snap, especially on a wet day like that. But they need that group to be consistent because they obviously were not opening holes against one of the worst run defenses in the country, and that's concerning. So that said, kind of turning the page a little bit to Gundy today. Obviously, it's an interesting game because you mentioned they're going up against Dana Holgerson, a guy that used to work here. And I'm going to be talking to him later this week and have a story on kind of him and his time at OSU and how they sort of benefited each other. They were only together 1 year, he and Gundy, but it was a big turning point in how Mike Gundy viewed offense, and it also impacted Holgerson in terms of taking some run game principles from Gundy and how he's going on about his career and as an offensive coach as well. So it's interesting stuff, but I think the far bigger story though is just like it was last week. How do they come back from a Bedlam win now? What do they look like when they come back from this really demoralizing defeat? I think that's got to be the biggest storyline going forward for this team.
I think I do it on the road,
right?
Which is also never easy. I mean, even in a place, with Houston, a team that's been struggling a lot this season, how they respond is key. I get the sense this team will respond. Think about how they responded for 5 weeks after South Alabama, Iowa State back to back. They responded well against Iowa State, I thought. They just didn't win that game.
Right.
So I think this team can respond well. They've got the leadership. They've got the poise. You never felt like they got away from themselves Saturday. They didn't, there wasn't a lot of frustration. There wasn't, Ollie I think was frustrated, but Ollie's just an emotional kid. But I think, so I look for them to bounce back.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see Dana Holgerson against Mike Gundy again, though. It's always fun.
It is. It's always a good time. It's been a few years now since we've got a chance to see it, since he left West Virginia. Obviously a new program trying to build their footing in the Big 12, and it's a lot of it that's fascinating. I'm interested to get down there and see that campus, see what it's like, and check things out, see what they're working with as a Big 12 school, because as Mike Gundy mentioned, being in that Houston area, you can really grow a program if given the opportunity. And I think being part of the Big 12 is the opportunity that Houston needs. Excuse me.
You got 7 million people in that metro.
Yes, exactly.
And
that's 3 million more than Mike Gundy thought they had.
Yeah, 3 million more than Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And according to Gundy, I haven't done that. I haven't checked, but I thought it was interesting to point out that that's a place that can really benefit from the portal NIL, because kids want to come back home a lot of times. They leave a school they go far away home from, and Houston's a program that can benefit from that. Which now that I think about it, it's interesting. Brings it up because Stephon Johnson Jr. is a kid very much that OSU's familiar with. He played at OSU last year as a true freshman, and then hits the portal, goes home to Houston.
Yeah.
So, there's something to that.
Yeah, absolutely is. What else about what Mike Gundy had to say today stuck out to you?
Let's see. I thought it was some fun stuff there. We got, he brought his dogs Kinsey and Ginger.
Yes.
As his guard dogs, he liked to call them at the beginning. I thought it was interesting too that he thinks that we're all being a little too soft when we ask questions about negativity. And how they've struggled in areas. I guess he wants us to be more blunt.
I guess so. He also called me young.
He did call you young.
I wasn't sure how to take that exactly in the moment. Big picture, I'll take it any day.
Yeah.
But wasn't sure if he was trying to suggest that I was inexperienced. Wasn't sure how to feel about that.
Yeah, he called you young. So this season he's called you young multiple times, I think now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's called me his buddy. We've had an interesting run with Gundy this season.
It's been very different, very unique, a lot of fun. I thought, I asked him about Brian Nardo and whether that was a good learning experience for him, and he pointed to, every time you lose, that it really is. But these are the kinds of challenges that Nardo is going to come up against. He hasn't called plays against guys that are as talented and as experienced at this level as a guy like Malzahn or Dana Holgerson this week, or a lot of the other Big 12 offensive coordinators. So, he's done a good job of reacting and adjusting so far prior to Saturday, I thought. The key is going to be going forward, being able to make those adjustments in game and see things and recognize them. And, I think that he relies a lot on his staff for those things, guys like Joe Bob Clemens, Tim Duffy, Dan Hammerschmidt, because of their experience at this level. But this is a really important moment in this journey of his season. I don't mean that in terms of that it's make or break moment or hot seat or any of those kind of things. I don't want to suggest that at all, because it's not.
No.
But this is a guy who is in the process of developing in what needs to be a legit, proven Big 12 defensive coordinator, and I think that he's got the tools to be that. But this is, I think, a really important moment and span in this season for him to get to that point. So that said, I think this week will be a little bit different, and I think you'll see a different vibe from the defense.
Yeah, I think something like this. Brian Nardo seems like the guy to me that looks at this and says, okay, they got the best of me. How do we fix it? How do we get better? And it's a motivation tool for him. I feel like he's the guy that's going to come out with his head on fire a little bit, and they're going to do some things a lot different and be a little more prepared.
Yeah, I can see that. I would say, he's very reasonable in terms of how he approaches his job and how he deals with his players, and I think that he's going to have a really smart method for approaching them. Actually, it's already going on right now as we speak. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so they're practicing right now. So a lot of this has been done already at this point. But I think that I think that he probably showed up with the right attitude and teaching mindset to get them past this quickly and moving on to the next week. That just seems to be his vibe. Not a ton of crazy stuff from Gundy. He told some stories and did some other things today, but a fairly subdued day. You did mention he had his dogs, which always makes things interesting. They started fighting in the middle of
they did of
the press conference at one point. So
that was funny. Right in front of me too. I was like, do I need to step back? Like,
right?
What are these dogs going to do? And they fought all the way through the hallway and the walk-off.
They did, yeah. They got noisy down the hallway. They were very excited to be out at the press conference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, is it time to move on to the?
It's the Stonecloud six-pack time.
All right. Let's do it. Let me get my notes out here.
Got my homework.
That's right.
I did my homework as always.
Because I told you all the things that are on here.
Yeah, I have no idea. Here we go.
Before we do that, I do have to bring up one thing, because the uniform combination. This was a Marshall Scott stat. The uniform combination that they wore. They're 3 and 4 all time in that uniform combination. but they've lost now 4 in a row. The last 2 times that they've worn that uniform combination were Saturday and Kansas State last year.
Oh, no.
So that's 93-3. They've been outscored the last 2 times.
I don't think they're going to wear this uniform combination for a long time.
I think they gotta make that one disappear for a good long time.
Yeah.
Bring out some swatches, figure out some different combos, figure out what you can do there, because that is a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
They can't. Man. They gotta figure out a way to turn the tide on that uniform combination. All right. So with that, we jump into the Stonecloud 6-pack. All true false this week.
Ooh, true false.
Every
I like
now and
that.
then you gotta throw out a pop quiz.
I like it.
That's true false.
Here we go.
So number 1 in the Stonecloud 6-pack, true or false? Does Ollie Gordon get back on the 100-yard train? We saw him fall below 100 for the first time in 6 games. Does he get back over that 100-yard mark this week? True or false? Ollie will get back. I asked that as a question.
Ollie Gordon gets back.
Gordon will have 100 yards rushing or more.
True.
I'm also going true. On that one.
It's not going to happen twice in a row.
I'm with you there. All right. Number 2, true or false? Oklahoma State will score at least 30 points this week.
Oh, that's true.
True?
Yeah, I think
so?
it's true.
I'm actually going to go false on that one.
Go false on that one. Really?
I think they're going to slow things down. I think they're going to take their time. I think they're going to keep it in the high 20s, but I'm going under.
I'm going true.
30.
There's going to be a defensive touchdown in there, I think, to help.
Ooh, a defensive touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me wish I had asked a different question for number 3.
Oh.
But number 3, true or false? You understand the Big 12 tiebreaker rules.
Oh, that's a false.
False.
That's a false.
Absolutely.
I don't understand them. I can't wrap my head around them. OSU somehow has wins over 2 teams they could tie with, but that doesn't matter apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But
all sorts of
if
things.
OSU wins out, it still doesn't necessarily matter.
Right.
And
but if Texas loses, it could be a 5-way tie. Going into
and
next
5-way tie makes me want to just chug that 16% beer and not think about it.
Exactly.
I don't have a clue.
Yes, I'm with you. False. I've written about it, and as I said on Twitter when I posted the link, I explained it the best I can.
And you did a good job explaining.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm still not sure exactly what all is going on, and there's so many different scenarios that it's too hard to even try to project right now. But it's a mess. It's definitely a mess. All right, well, that brings us to the back half of the Stonecloud 6-pack. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. We're going. So last week, OSU was heading out to Central Florida. We did what was it? Things from Florida. I kept a little more broad this week because Florida's a whole state. There's a lot to choose from. Houston, not as big. We're not doing the whole state of Texas because this is specifically about Houston. But things we like about Houston, just nice and broad.
Yeah.
You know, keep it open and fun and. Lots of.
I brought a hat for the occasion.
Oh, you did?
I brought a hat.
Did you really now?
I did. I'm not going to put it on.
Well, look at that. Oh,
yeah.
That is nice.
This is how I feel.
That's very nice. Very nice. I wonder if that will have anything to do with any of your answers.
Oh, we'll see. And for those who are not watching this podcast, I mean, you should be.
Right. Yeah.
It's my Rangers World Series champions hat.
It is. Yeah. And for those that don't pay attention to baseball, the Rangers beat the Diamondbacks in the World Series. Remind me though, who did they beat to get to the World Series?
Houston.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Houston.
Very good.
Houston had a problem.
Houston had a problem. All right. Well, do you want to go first? I always let you go first.
Oh, I can go first.
I figured you're raring and ready to go. So with that, things we like about Houston. Your first draft pick.
I passed. Nothing.
Nothing. All right. Fair enough.
Go on.
Moving on. Excuse me. I'm going with. Okay, so last week I almost picked the Kennedy Space Center. In Florida as one of my things about Florida. So I'm going back to NASA.
There you go.
They got us to the moon.
They did.
Out of Houston.
They did.
I mean, people were probably from all over the place, but it was Houston. They got the Apollo 13 astronauts back.
Yeah, they did. They did. I loved when I went and visited NASA when I was in high school or whatever. Like, that's a great place. I think it's awesome. I've always been fascinated by space type stuff. I'm kind of a sci-fi nerd and a little bit like I don't read a bunch of books, but I like watching Star Trek, Star Wars, other shows, movies, whatever that had to do that. I kind of get into that stuff. So I dig that.
Yeah. But that's my first pick. They got us to the moon. We'll go pick number 2.
Nothing again. I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. I will pick something
All right,
from
good.
Houston. I'm going to pick Minute Maid Park. And here's why. The Rangers won all 4 of their games in the ALCS there.
Well,
They turned it into their home
about
stadium,
that?
so we're going with that one.
all right then. That's very nice. I'm a big fan of Minute Maid. I really liked it better, Minute Maid, when they had the hill in center field.
Yes.
But anyway, that's just me.
I've never been to a game there.
I haven't either. I've yet to make it down. Number 2, I'm going with the Oilers.
Okay, I like it.
I was a big fan of the Oilers when I was young. The first actual football helmet I had was an
Yeah.
Oilers helmet.
Okay.
My dad bought it for me one Christmas. Now, it had the old-fashioned 2-bar, old-fashioned
nice.
2-bar face mask. I
Nice.
hated that. I made my dad go buy me. I didn't make him. I was 7. I convinced him to go buy me a modern face mask, and then bolt it onto
nice.
onto the helmet so that I could look more like Warren
Yeah.
Moon, who was my favorite Oiler at the
That's
time.
a good one.
Did you see the Titans break out the old Oiler
Yeah.
uniforms? Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
Still love everything about those uniforms.
Didn't Houston break out a uniform like that too?
Oh, did they? I
think there was a
maybe they
controversy. Like I think there was
did. Oh,
2.
who got to claim it?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think Houston did that. Yeah.
Very nice.
The Cougars.
Side note. Right. Side note. Yeah. Oh, the Cougars. I did see them do that.
Yeah,
Theirs were fantastic.
I think there was some controversy from it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very fun. All right.
Side note,
But
sorry.
my side note. UCF's uniforms were pretty sweet.
They were sweet.
And I know it's a unique thing. It was Space Day. Blue is not a typical color in their uniform scheme, but tons of fans had blue stuff, jerseys, T-shirts, all sorts of things. It was really cool. Looked good. They'd found their way to get a baby blue helmet. That would have really
Yeah.
topped it off. But the white was solid. No complaints. I know OSU fans won't want to see that uniform ever again, just like the ones that they wore themselves. But I was a big fan of the look itself. All right, 3rd and final pick. Things we like about Houston. Jacob, do you have anything at all other than?
I'm digging deep in the well here. I'm digging
Right.
deep in the well.
Uh-huh.
Nolan Ryan.
Okay,
You know what?
there you go.
I mean, Alvin is close to Houston
It is.
and played for the Astros. He's a legend there. So I will go with Nolan Ryan because he's a legend. He's one of my all-time favorite players. My grandma's favorite player when she was alive. So I will go with the Ryan Express
Okay,
there. So
very nice. No disagreement there.
yeah,
His Astros days were when I really came to know who he was as a baseball player, and obviously ending with the Rangers was kind of the highlight of his career, really.
and,
But
and a 3B option for me would be the uniforms that he wore back then.
those were fun.
I will give the Astros props on this.
Those were big time fun. But then you got to rip them for getting rid of them. So
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, my final thing, a favorite thing coming out of Houston. This is the only one on this list that I will enjoy while I'm down there this weekend. I-45 North, out of Houston.
Oh,
Very much looking forward to that on Sunday.
there you go. Yeah. I haven't been to Houston since I was in high school. I'm not gonna lie. It's been long. So I don't have I can't pick a barbecue place. I know there's great barbecue down there, great food scene, probably some breweries, but I've got nothing to offer on that.
Yeah.
Mainly because I've avoided this city for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I was looking for some advice on where to stay for this
yeah.
weekend, so I reached out to a writer down in Houston, and I said, "Hey, here's where I'm looking, but is there a better option?" And he's like, "That one where you're looking, it's really busy there." And I'm like, "If a Houston person is telling me it's busy,
Yeah, then you don't want to do that.
yeah, how busy is it actually?
Yeah.
That's got to be insane."
That's not good.
So I went with his option. We'll see how it turns out,
Okay.
but looking forward to
Okay.
getting out of Houston on Sunday. That's other than covering the football game, leaving is the only thing I'm really excited about this weekend. So
You can
we'll
tell
see
we
how
both
it
love
goes.
Houston.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, shall we go ahead and wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I guess
All right.
so.
Like we always say, go ahead and drop your score prediction in the comments, and we'll see if you can win a beer that we will drink for you next week. Other than that, we appreciate you joining us here on the Cowboy Chronicles. For whether you're listening or watching here on YouTube, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.